Everybody, welcome back to the Daddy Knows Best channel, here to help you understand the world, become a more educated man, become a happy man, and successful. Of course, women are welcome here. We'd love your input, and we'd love to find like-minded, fantastic women out there to help get involved and, of course, support these ideas and get the word out. So first off, this video, you saw the title. It's all about men and women's money. Is there a difference? Are men making more money? That's what we're going to be focused on today. Are men making more money? And if they are, what's happening to that money? And is there something going on, in society or something between men and women? First off, they don't want this information to get out. That's one reason I made that big CNN video. I don't want to focus too much on that today. But they talked about going down the rabbit hole, and that's one reason YouTube was completely changed. They changed their algorithm, and you used to be able to click on a couple videos. Coach here, Coach Greg Adams, pretty cool guy, and you used to be able to go suggested videos, and then you could click a couple videos down and find completely different content, find new ideas, maybe find something that was a bit of a stronger opinion. Some people might say crazy or radical, some people might think, but ideas are ideas, and this is a platform where you can upvote or downvote things. But of course, YouTube removes the real dislike number count, and YouTube really has not allowed voting, upvotes or downvotes, to really influence much of anything about if a video becomes popular or not. So that was they've completely messed up their algorithm and completely messed up how YouTube works. But with dating and money, let's talk about that, because that's what you're here for. You as a guy are wanting this information. I wanted this information and I didn't know where to go. So here we go. Let's jump into the topic. So, if you are searching, you are ready to learn, you're going to find people here like Coach Melanie. And if you don't know, I've looked into her. Maybe I'll make a video about it, but she's a Christian talk lady, and more power to her for being a Christian, all that. But these people need to be honest with what the ideas or what agendas they have, and she gives you very bad information, and information that will get you no results. Then, if you search this topic, again, there are a lot of views on this, so this video is not being propped up too much, but it is a 6-year-old video, and it's by Steve Harvey. There is, he does get some women to be honest and does expose some things, but Steve Harvey is certainly, a guy who's not really doesn't really care about men and thinks men should be used, and I'll make a video all about that. So here, you're eventually going to start getting to some good information. Ask Coach Greg Adams. But this is only if you directly search for women and men's money. It's kind of actually hard to get YouTube to actually suggest any of these things at all and recommend any of these things. And in fact, look at this. What do we have things propped up? We have, women giving advice to each other on how to take advantage of men. And I wanted to bring this topic up because mothers generally teach their daughters some basics about life. And you might say women are disadvantaged in all this. I'm like, okay, sure. But the thing is, men, at least in the past, used to teach men skills on how to do things. They don't even do that anymore. But there's men are out of the households with single mothers and divorces, and we won't get into the blame game today. Who's responsible or not? That's another video for another day. But the thing is, you need to know is that men are not only around, and even if they are around, like my dad didn't teach me much of anything. How life skills, how to understand the world, anything. And we're going to continue to go down this road, and things are only going to get worse for men. And that's one reason I'm making these types of videos, and I'm trying to fix these things. So you need to figure out who has good information, who has anything relevant, and test these things for yourself. It's one thing to get, have a bunch of beliefs and go to an echo chamber like Twitter, where everybody believes the same way you do, but actually go out there, actually ask questions, figure out what people believe, how they live, and what kind of results, like what are the actual consequences of these things in your life. So I wanted to make it about this. You know, it's kind of hard to find some information. I wanted to do a quick shout out of some good sources of information. Of course, it'd be great if you were interested in my content, and I'm going to be making some of the best content out there. But Jordan B. Peterson, if you're just getting started into finding some good information about the world, relevant information, Jordan B. Peterson, you know, he's not a perfect guy. Sometimes he makes mistakes, and sometimes he has unique opinions. Sometimes he's hard to understand. He's a little bit more philosophical, but you know, genuine guy, has a lot of great thoughts, and really is you know, helping people, healing the world, healing a lot of hearts, and has saved a lot of lives. Young Ripa here talks about social issues, a lot about comics. He really cares about comics. He exposes a lot of you know, contradictions and controversies, and he makes a bunch of great content. Another one here, Overlord DVD, focuses a lot on things like Star Trek and Star Wars and popular media and contradiction, and how these Twitter type people, CNN type people, want to completely control our narrative. You know, they don't want to actually build a new movie, a new franchise, new original characters, new entertainment. They want to take over your entertainment, just like with what happened recently with Disney. They want to take over your entertainment and indoctrinate your kids, force them to go to public schools, and have enforce certain lifestyles. You know, they want parents out of the equation. They don't want parents to have any control in teachers, you know, teachers meetings, you know, student-teacher meetings. Any control over what is in the textbooks. They don't want teachers to be able to pull their kids out, demand tax dollars, homeschool their kids, go or choose what schools they want to, hold teachers accountable, and don't even get me started on teachers' unions. He exposes a lot of these things and makes fantastic content. I love Overlord DVD. But let's talk about this topic. You know, what you really came here for. Guys and girls, ladies and gents, there's no way to beat around the bush here. Women spend 80% of the money, generally speaking, you know, on average. And people want to hide this information. You know, there's been studies that have exposed this, but I mean, I'm using Brave here, and I'm not using Google as my search engine, and I have Safe Searches off, and you still almost can't find any of this information. It's kind of hard to find. You really have to go down, and that's what they say is the rabbit hole. No, you're not. You're supposed to trust the most popular source. You're supposed to trust the UN. You're supposed to trust the WHO. You're supposed to trust the biggest voice, the most popular. And look, UN Women is and the in one UN. These are highly funded organizations, world organizations with tons of power and influence, and they're the ones giving, telling you what to believe. And look at all this. Look at all this. What's recommended. And Forbes, the same people who told you that you will own nothing in the future, you'll own absolutely nothing, but be happy about it. And look, and we get all these articles who are not talking about the studies and the statistics and what causes these. They're talking about, you know, women should get more. So let's talk about that a little bit. So here are a few statistics I wanted to go over real quick. You know, they're going to keep giving apologies. They're not going to talk about how men, you know, sacrifice for the family, give everything to families, and then they get divorced. They're not going to be talk about how the majority of women in colleges, at least in the USA, are women, the majority of them, and that women actually are making more money than men. And this was exposed on a national level with the soccer controversy, and there's still people talking about it, like the women, you know, the world, you know, women's soccer league still needs to be paid more, when they were openly and publicly exposed that they were actually paid more than the men. And they still think they're not paid enough. This is the kind of world we live in, and don't get me started on things like Serena Williams. But here, this short list I thought was some of the most compelling. You can go to this website here, womendeliver.org, infographics. Girls and women spend 90% of their earned income on their families, while men spend only 30 to 40% on the household. See, this is a very clear-cut, you know, they don't give you an example of what is spending money on the family, and you know, what are men spending their other money on, you know, the 70, 60%. So they're not going to explain what that is. So women, I don't even think that's genuine. I don't even think that's real. I'd really love to see their study. I doubt that this is even true. But if women do spend 90% on their earned income on their families, again, men usually make the majority. Again, society's changing where women work, and we have two-income families and all that. So that's kind of what they're getting at. They're kind of suggesting that a woman and a man is working in a household, and the woman's paying most of the bills. That's kind of what they're trying to suggest here. And that's not the case. We know very clearly that the man is the one who pays most of the bills, and the woman keeps the majority of the money to herself. So they're probably really skewing this because a man is spending money investing it into building a business, tools, computer upkeep, maintaining different things, which is not considered for the family. He might be paying for dinners to wine and dine expensive clients so he can get the business deal. That's not going to be considered, and they're probably not factoring that into an expense for the family. So again, they can skew things whichever way they want, but again, the men are the ones spending the majority on the family. It's not like men spend less and then have a bunch of free money to just play around with, while women are the ones paying for most of the family expenses. It's the complete opposite. And I'm sure there's it happens, or it does happen to some individuals or families out there, but I have never seen an experience where a woman is paying 90% of the family bills, and a guy is only spending like 30 or 40% of his income here, like they're suggesting, and then the guy is running around with thousands of dollars just to have fun with. And even if he did, that is extra money that he has earned, that he should have influence over. He earned that money, and that's what they're kind of getting. Also, another skew of this traditionalism that we still have a part of in our society is that there's something wrong with the man if he wants to drive the better vehicle and the woman gets to drive an old minivan. What if he needs that reliable truck to do work? What if he's a construction man and he really needs a really well-maintained vehicle, maybe that needs to be repaired more. Maybe he needs a better model, and he wears it out, the vehicle, pretty quickly, because he's doing he's really doing a lot of hard labor with the truck. These kinds of people don't care and don't talk about these types of things, and they just care about outrage, just like on Twitter. So let's talk about the next thing real quick. Eliminating barriers to employment for women. Women don't have barriers. In fact, women have quotas and preferential treatment in hiring. Companies are actually legally required to hire certain amounts of women. They're forced to, even if they're underqualified or not qualified, or there's better candidates. And this has been talked about over and over for years and decades, and they still act like women are being limited in certain fields. There's a big difference between being qualified, and again, we have laws that push women into these into these jobs where maybe they don't even want to be, or maybe even should be. And again, they say that women getting into the workforce increases the productivity by 25%. And we're going to talk about another one of these statistics real here, but it's also really odd. So if the world population is about 51%, depending on where you live, so 51% of the population gets into the workforce and only increases the labor productivity by 25%, what's going on? That doesn't make things look good for women. That's not a good statistic for women. It kind of shows that maybe women are possibly less effective than men, and that's not always the case, and there's very talented, very successful women out there. But this statistic does not explain things very well, and doesn't really help their argument. And again, this is Women Deliver. This is like a pro-women website that talks about empowering women and women who runs the world? Women and all this. This is their kind of their narrative. This is their thing. So the next topic is closing the gender gap in agriculture could lift 100 to 150 million people out of hunger. Please justify that. Growing evidence shows that corporations led by women are more focused on sustainability. That's also not a good talking point. Sustainability, I mean, sure, I'm sure you're factoring in like green things, like lowering carbon emissions, and we won't even get into that debate today. But I mean, that's a feel-good metric. What are women doing to actually make the products better, make people happier, and make the business more successful? That's not really a particularly good metric, sustainability, and also what is sustainability. You really need to define it. Some people think lowering carbon emissions is sustainability, when that really doesn't help the company to be last in the long term, or be innovative or creative, invent the next technology. That inventing the next technology and becoming, being a better company, being more creative, marketing better, having a better product. That's the kind of things that make a company sustainable, not working in regulation with some government to reduce your carbon footprint, even if you believe in those kinds of things. So again, these are, you can go through this list if you want to. Almost everything on this page is ridiculous. The next one, this is the last one we'll talk about on this website, is called When 10% or more 10% more girls go to school, the country's GDP increases by an average of 3%. So they're bragging about this. If 10% of women go to school, the average GDP, I don't know, maybe, you can't really say go up 10%, but an average, by an average of 3%. So sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And again, with these metrics, you don't know if they're doing this. GDP is by the year. Are they rounding this off, or how are they measuring this? They can cherry pick all the information they want, and this is when they go to school. So the assertion is when they go to school, they're more educated. So I don't know if they're talking about high school here or college. It's not really explaining anything. So if we have 10% more educated women, it's only 3%. It doesn't sound particularly good to me by any metrics. So let's jump to the next topic here. Women drive majority of consumer purchases. So I mentioned that women spend as much as, or possibly more, 80% of the actual GDP. They spend 80% of the money. Again, men give their money to the women in marriages. It's actually very common for men to have no access to the credit cards or no access to any of the spending. You might say, well, I don't do that. I've never seen that. Well, it's actually in my experience, 50% of the case that the man has no ability to spend anything and is shamed if he ever spends anything on himself at all. And there's men that have gone throughout years and have never bought anything for themselves and have never really gotten any gifts. I mean, maybe they got something for Christmas, but and the woman is going every single week to the salon to get her nails and her hair done, and all these kinds of expenses, all the wine she can want, all the dining she could want, and all these other things, and the guy can't or is not allowed to buy anything for himself. And then they get divorced and they lose the house, 50% of their future income. They lose all of their assets and everything. You might be asking, why am I even bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because I recently talked to somebody on Instagram, and this lady thought she was hilarious, and she thought she was very funny. And the woman literally told me that her husband makes 3 times as much as her, and she was very angry about it, and was talking about inequality, that women, aren't treated fairly. I told her that maybe her husband, and I wasn't trying to be rude. You know, people these days, you know, think that you know, this is not a reasonable thing to say, but you know, not everybody should be paid the same. You know, maybe somebody is 3 times as good as doing your job. These days, people look at a job and they think everybody should be paid the same for doing the same job. But some people are far more effective at doing a job. When companies have had this type of attitude, and I've seen it plenty of times, somebody who's getting paid $100,000 or $150,000 to do some kind of job, and they fire them, and they hire 2 or 3 people, and you know, they're kind of paying them less, and the company's trying to make, you know, save a couple grand or 10 or 20,000 or something, and they can't even get the job done. They're far less effective than this person, and sometimes they ask for them back, you know, even to come back, because they can't do the job, and you know, that this one individual did, because they're so good. You know, you're supposed to pay people based on their success and based on their skill, and that's why successful people build their own businesses and find ways where they can get paid on performance. Successful, skilled people do not want to be paid by the hour, and you know, it's honestly, it hurts the economy. We won't get into the debate on minimum wage, but minimum wage does not support the American spirit. It's completely opposite of the American spirit, and capitalism and anything that's decent, and does not encourage people to work harder or more effectively. So you don't have an argument if you say that everybody should be paid the same job. And you know, this person was asserting sexism when they had no evidence for it. Just because their husband's making 3 times as much money as them and they work at the same company doesn't necessarily mean that you know, the husband is favored more. And that it's amazing that, you know, people, you know, lots of people would support her, and if you say something like this, people get behind, you know, somebody like that, and if you try to debate them, they don't want to hear any of the facts. They don't want to hear any information. They don't want to hear any evidence. And these are the people who are funding and a part of the United Nations and these organizations who have extreme amounts of power, extreme amounts of influence, and you know, and they're trying to get even more power. You know, women, again, they admit it here. Women drive the majority of consumer purchasing. So essentially they are admitting that women make the majority of the purchases of goods and items, you know, directly or indirectly. And then they try to make up for it and say it's decisions for their families. Oh, because yes, women are, of course, spend more on their families than men do, or you know, are more interested, you know, in their families than men are. So, you know, of course, we're going to ignore the traditional families where the you know, the women might be stay-at-home moms. Oh my goodness, you know, that's unimaginable. And we're going to ignore any of other situations where you know, the man, you know, kind of like shared apartments or shared living, and where they're not actually married but they're living together, and all these types of things, to even today. So anyways, you know, and then they pat themselves on the back. How do you do it all? It's these people who write these articles, it's amazing that they do. Again, this is just a short article, but you know, they're trying to change all of influence and companies, and they want more investment, and they want you know, banks and financial ventures and to invest in female-founded companies just because they're women. You know, all these venture capitalists and angel capitalists, that they literally want to replace the majority of businesses with women-owned businesses, because that would be a form of equality to them. They don't care that you know, these men in the past made the world a better place, invented you know, all these you know, electrical gadgets, founded electricity, made television, you know, made it so you could have running water, light bulbs, and everything else imaginable that these women take for granted, vehicles, gasoline, everything. And you know, they would, they think that they should be able to swoop in and have these businesses and make just as much, if not more, than men. And some of these corporations, and you know, a lot of them are crooked, but some of these businesses and corporations are historical and are there for a reason. You know, they're not there because women were oppressed. They're because somebody met the needs of the people. Somebody gave a product that was desirable, helped the world, improved the lives of people, and they couldn't keep it. You know, it's selling like hotcakes. They couldn't keep it in the doors. People are going crazy for it. That's what the world needs. You know, you don't make the world a better place just because a woman owns the business or a woman is leading the business. You make the world a better place because you're meeting the needs and the wants of the consumer, and then the consumer gets what they want. You know, I mean, how can you be like this? You know, if you want to talk about equality and say that you're doing this because you want there to be more women businesses, that's fine. But you know, men don't understand that. You know, men get out there, they work hard, they struggle, they rely on themselves. They often don't even network with each other, and if they do have a gentleman's club or a golf course club, you know, they're kind of shamed for it if they go out with the boys or drink and collaborate with each other. But women are very forward and take full advantage of lobbying and organizing and pushing governments and businesses to favor them. And once they get into positions of leadership in these businesses, they all get together and unify together to, you know, change companies, maybe against what the company's ideals are, or you know, what's best for the company, and maybe even what the rest of the company wants. So that's a lot of what's going on. So let's talk about divorce here real quick. Again, because we mentioned that our topic here today really is about women and men and money. Let's talk about these three things here. Because with divorce, men aren't told the truth, and they're not going to. They're going to keep making these three big excuses, and they're trained. Look, this is a law firm. This is justifying. And again, lawyers want women to get divorced because lawyers make an awful lot of money on divorced women. That's their bread and butter. They make a lot of money, and they're happy to take more and more from men because then the law firm gets more and more from men. So this is justification, and these are the types of things that are regularly told and women are going to believe. The first one is women are likely to feel held back. So held back in what way? So they're going to suggest that, you know, men are limiting them, you know, in some way. And they're going to suggest like financially, and then they have responsibilities for the, you know, the children or something like that, or they're going to be taking more, you know, responsibility for the children. Essentially, it's encouraging the girl boss lifestyle, where these women have daycares, and they actually lobby the governments as well. So they're places of business, and a lot of women would like there to be, you know, government-funded childcare, essentially. So, you know, somebody else is raising their kid, so they can get out there and work. There's a reason why family exists. There's a reason why those family structures existed, and it's really strange to me that these women are happy to send their kids to public schools and daycare and never understand their children, never listen to their children, and let somebody else teach them how to live and what to think and culture and values. If you're a mother and you actually wanted to have a child, if you actually cared about that child, why would you not want to teach your kids of their heritage, of their legacy, of, you know, their grandparents and their genealogy? Why would you not want to teach them of, you know, help them develop their skills and their talents? Why would you not want to be there for them within the special moments, and like teach them how to speak. You know, why would you not want to be there for, you know, for those moments? This type of attitude, you know, does not help children, and this type of attitude really doesn't help society. You know, I mean, you don't have to have a family either. You can be single all you want, but if you want to be have a single lifestyle and then have a kid, and then have somebody else raise the kid, if you could, a lot of the times as well is the financial point of it. They're spending a lot of money on this, you know, daycare and all these things, and then they complain. You know, they're getting welfare checks, they're getting, you know, money, you know, child care payments from the man, welfare checks, and other subsidies, and, you know, funding for women. And so they're getting money thrown at them 3, 4, 5 different ways. Money from, you know, the woman's parents, and other sources, and they're still not happy about it. They're still not happy about it, especially if it was a unhappy divorce, or the woman, you know, thought she was gonna be able to take more advantage of the man, you know, or she was divorced before alimony payments, you know, 10 years. I'm sure that y'all know, but if you're married to a woman for more than 10 years and you divorce her, you have to pay her money for the rest of her life. She essentially gets like a retirement plan on the man's back, which, I mean, where's the equality, women? I mean, where is the equality in any of this? And, you know, they could argue, if you don't want to take care of these kids, maybe let the man raise the kids. But they never talk in that way, because these women don't want to give over the kids, because the kids are the things that give them not only an emotional fix, you know, drama, and they feel like they're in control of that past relationship, but it also gives them all this money and all these benefits. So, you know, if they don't want the kids, they could hand over the kids to adoption or to the dad or the father. But they don't want to do that at all. They won't even dare to even bring that up as a talking point. So the next talking point they talk about is women often take on more of an emotional burden. My goodness, this is really hard to even talk about, because they act like women, you know, sure, maybe they're more emotional. Sure, maybe women are more sensitive. But just because a woman has more of that emotional burden, again, they act like their emotional work is just as much as physical work or these things. I mean, these women don't even, again, they let their kids be raised in daycares and by public schools, and by watching the, you know, when they do come home from the healthcare, they cook them some frozen chicken nuggets and give them some juice, and stick them in front of the TV to watch, you know, the Disney Channel and stuff like this. You know, most women these days aren't, you know, actually stressed or about, you know, focusing on the family. They're not. They're not making special home cooked meals. They're not planning, you know, the kids' life out. Working to, you know, promote them, you know, in society with like networking and getting, you know, them to positions of influence, and you know, like back in the day, like you watch like, you know, Victorian dramas and things like that with England. It's like, you know, where kids, you know, learned how to negotiate. They learned how to debate. They learned how to talk. It's like, these mothers aren't encouraging or developing those types of things, skills and abilities, and networking and leadership and all these types of skills and abilities. So I don't know what they mean, even are talking about by emotional burden. I don't even know what they mean by this. So they act like once they get they're not being supported enough by the man in an emotional sense is really what they're getting at. So the woman they're suggesting is given more emotional support to the man. That's kind of always how it's been. So again, they're trying to change these responsibilities or traditional family dynamics, and they don't explain why they want to change them and don't justify really why they would change them. So again, this is just like, again, a couple short paragraphs, but it's quite strange. So, okay, I'm making this too much of like a study. It sounds like you're listening to your professor, like you're back in school. But the last one here we'll talk about, and then we'll wrap this up here, is women no longer tolerate consistent unacceptable behavior. So this is an attitude I do see a lot in the dating market. You know, anything that women don't want is bad, undesirable, and they just ignore you. You know, women kind of ignore you in general. So you have to approach them, or you're expected to, and then you're expected to present your salary, your lifestyle, your family heritage, your potential. You're supposed to present your skills to a woman, and then she's supposed to pick you if she likes you. Which, it's really completely messed up and really the opposite of how society should be. And then if you get into a marriage, the women think that they're in a position to judge men more than men judge them. So this makes it out to being that, you know, men are more bad actors than women. When we know that, if we're talking about in regards to cheating, studies are coming out now that women cheat just as much as men, if not more, and especially younger women today are much more promiscuous. We're talking about outside marriage now, but you know, before marriage or outside of marriage, young women are much more open or available or living their best life, hot girl summer, than men are. So, what kind of unacceptable behavior are we talking about? Why don't we talk about how men don't want to accept? If we do, you know, if a woman does want to get into marriage, and if there is a guy out there who does want to get married, you know, a woman is not going to give up her attitude of finding the next and best thing. Like she's not going to be dedicated and loyal if she's probably played the game hot girl summer, and you know, went down and had some fun in Mexico. Anyways, divorce mediator and coach. I mean, this stuff is crazy. Let's read this real quick. Once the honeymoon period is over, some men drastically change their behavior from romantic to controlling and emotionally abusive. Do I need to say more? I mean, sure, that can happen. But does this happen more often to women than it does to men? And what is controlling? See, a lot of these women getting into marriage, they still have an attitude of openness. They think that they should be able to flirt, talk, date. I mean, not only date, but they can justify that there wasn't emotion in it, so they think that they should be able to have flings or fun with other men, but they're still loyal to their husband in the emotional sense. So they think that they can physically go do whatever they want, and if a man tries to limit or control that because a woman's supposed to be loyal to a man, that is controlling and abuse. But if a man goes out there, it doesn't matter if he's still emotionally you know, attached to his woman. You know, there are some women now who are so open that they would allow that with some men, but most women aren't. Even if it's emotional or not, if a man goes out and you know, with another woman, that's, you know, just unacceptable. Also, society-wise, society is far more accepting of women going out there cheating. It's still cheating than men. So the law firms don't care about the realities of our current society. They care about justifying divorce, and they care about making money. Yeah, based on their own research. Give us your stats and give us your research. Yeah, we are here to help. Call us free consultation. Okay, so, I mean, top-tier law firm, small, I mean, have represented us with drastic twists in church, come up with strategies in a bad situation, and they were maneuvering. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. I encourage you men to go out there and actually research for yourself. So let's wrap this up. Women spending more money than men. Go on Twitter. This is what I found. You know, that they hide this and there aren't even a lot of people talking about it. But men are supposed to spend more money on women who got their own money. I mean, they have these expectations and these requirements, and there's no equality here. Why do men spend more time and money on cars? So again, they'll demonize anything, any hobby that a man has, any interest that a man has, anything that a man spends more time on than women. Advertisements groom us into being a society is comfortable with. Muscular, handsome men, thin, beautiful women. Just think how much money we spend on becoming these ideals. So this guy, I mean, sure, but the reason why Hollywood and these people do some of these things is because they're exaggerating the things that people actually want and the things that are desirable. And there's a reason why these things are desirable biologically. But of course, these types of people don't care about actually talking about science and actual biology. See, like this guy, he gets it. He makes a comment. Of course, people are going to ignore about him. Oh, goodness. I mean, just go through all this. Like date robbery, men, they're suggesting that men, you know, run away from dates to not have to pay bills just as much as women, or more. That's completely a lie. My goodness. So again, I'm not going to waste your time anymore, guys. You need to understand that, you know, society doesn't care about you that much as you think. That's why men are supposed to get out there and create society that, you know, men traditionally have had to prove themselves. But once you prove yourself and once you develop and build something, then you're a leader. I mean, and then when you're a leader, then you have influence. But these types of people want to take away the influence and power of actual people who have actually developed something, who have actually built something and created something of value. And there's people who want to argue that their emotions and that their feelings, and maybe if they do support somebody, is just as valuable. And that's also part of divorce. And one of the things they justify, you know, taking almost everything away from a man. Almost everything. So don't get married, or if you are willing to get married, please look into, you know, getting a prenup. And you have to get it signed by multiple judges, in front of judges, or it's going to be thrown out. And you need to do all your research. Anyways, ladies and gents, I'm going to wrap this up today. Hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was worthwhile, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody, and bye.